In today's exploration of cybersecurity tech news, ever since Russia invaded Ukraine, the hacktivism world has been rather eventful, to say the least. We've seen sabotage, leaks, defacements, but could Anonymous's latest operation be the biggest of them all? In the last week or so, over 20 gigabytes of data from Russia's central bank was leaked onto the open internet. Have Anonymous actually hacked the Russian ruble itself, or is this leak largely inconsequential, kinda boring, and actually nothing of interest? Let's find out. But where did this leak even come from? So I first came across this data dump on Twitter, the torrents for which was hosted on a website called anonymousleaks.xyz. Now, I haven't come across this website before, and I do think it's really important to be skeptical of websites claiming to be hosting anonymous data leaks, in particular when they make themselves look all hackery with flashing green text, and especially when the site only popped up in the last week or so, simply because you don't know if they've got some kind of ulterior motive, like disguising malware as data dumps. In fact, I saw a few Twitter accounts posting warnings about this particular site, claiming it's unsafe. So we don't know who's behind anonymousleaks.xyz because it was set up, well, anonymously, of course. It says there's 7 leaks available, and strangely the webpage has a server ID, which is odd. I wasn't sure what that referred to, and it changes every time you refresh the page. It turns out this is just a randomly generated number, implemented to make the website look more hackerish, I can only presume. Arguably kinda cringe, but anyway. After checking a couple of the torrents, they do seem legit, as in they are the exact same ones hosted by a more established and reputable leak site like Distributed Denial of Secrets. Even so, just as a PSA, I would be very cynical about websites which randomly pop up claiming to host leaks from Anonymous, especially when they look kind of flashy like this and implement silly random numbers, as they could just be trying to whip up noobs, encouraging them to download malware. Now, a website you can trust for leaks, at least from my experience, is Distributed Denial of Secrets. It's become the default website for people wanting to anonymously submit data dumps for public release. If it's here, you can reasonably assume the leak isn't just some kind of affront to spread malware. But anyway, let's get to the hack of Russia's central bank. The dump seems to have originated from the Black Rabbit World on Twitter, which of course aligns themselves with the brand of Anonymous. Now, interestingly, they announced the hack in advance of actually leaking the data, tweeting that more than 35,000 files will be released within 48 hours, presumably just in an attempt to drum up hype. They also posted one of those classic Anonymous-style press release videos, which I can't play because the background music will just get me copy-striked, but you know how these things go. We do not forgive, we do not forget, expect us, etc. and so on. But anyway, a lot of mainstream news outlets did cover Anonymous's initial announcement of the hack, but none that I could find covered the contents of the data leak itself. That may be because the actual leak is somewhat, dare I say, boring. I downloaded it, of course, and trawled through it. There are a lot of boring and inconsequential files in here. For example, there's accounting documents and audit reports. I found what appears to be a tool the bank uses for viewing the supply of rubles. However, I'm pretty sure a lot of this data is public knowledge already, and as far as I can see, there doesn't seem to be anything of supreme interest in this data dump, which explains why news outlets didn't bother to cover the leak itself. In fact, it doesn't even seem like everything which was claimed to be in the leak was actually in the leak. For example, in the announcement video, the leak was said to contain secret conference videos from the bank. However, I recursively unzipped the contents of the dump and ran a search for a couple different video formats and found nothing apart from a couple SWF files which were just 1-second audio clips. Irrelevant. However, the dump does contain thousands of files in Russian, which will take time for people to comb through and make sense of. So there may be something juicy hidden within the archive, but I reckon it's kind of unlikely at this point. Is there something juicy in this leak that I haven't spotted? Do let me know in the comments. So other than the central bank, in the last week or two there have been a few other Russian organizations breached under the banner of Anonymous. For example, we have a couple of industrial companies, one being Mashoil. They manufacture equipment for drilling and mining. The company had 140,000 emails leaked, which amounts to 110 gigabytes, all downloadable of course via a torrent hosted on Distributed Denial of Secrets. And then there's the Nestle hack, which was actually kind of interesting. So Nestle, the makers of the legendary Kit Kat, had initially refused to stop doing business in Russia. Many people, of course, weren't too happy about this, as you can imagine, and a few days later, anonymous related Twitter accounts started tweeting that the collective had exfiltrated and leaked 10 gigabytes of Nestle emails, passwords, and so on. The news rippled throughout the interwebs until someone actually checked the leaked data and found whilst it did originate from Nestle servers, it wasn't quite what it seemed to be. The database just consisted of test data, as in it was fake, imaginary data just used by Nestle to test their backend. You can tell this just from the sheer amount of example.com emails scattered throughout it, so the leak was kind of pointless. You might have noticed this is my first video in a good couple of weeks on the Russia-Ukrainian drama. I've had a lot going on behind the scenes, but I'm back and I'm keeping my eye on the hacktivism world, so you can of course expect more videos as things unfold. Now this video was made possible by Linode, who are giving you a $100 60-day credit just for signing up. Linode is essentially your Swiss Army knife for cloud computing. If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. One great feature of Linode is their app marketplace, which makes it super easy to spin up servers with pre-configured software. For example, use Linode's Pi-hole app to set up a DNS sinkhole that you can use to block ads across all your devices. And yeah, I do recognize the irony in promoting ad blocking within an actual ad. Linode can run almost anything by providing all the tools a developer really needs at competitive prices. Use the link in the description now to claim your free $100. Anyhow, thank you for watching, and you know what to do. Tickle that notification bell and follow me on the Instagrams for behind the scenes content, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.